The United Nations has called on Russia and Turkey to act urgently to avert a bloodbath in the Syrian rebel-held province of Idlib. Russian planes are reported to have renewed air raids as government troops mass before an expected offensive. Well, with rebels defeated in most of Syria, Idlib may be the last major battleground of the Syrian civil war. It's also the place to which many thousands of people have been evacuated from other rebel-held cities such as Aleppo. Well, joining me now is Samina. She's head of programmes at Islamic Relief, a humanitarian organisation that's been providing aid to Syrians caught up in that long-running conflict. And Samina, give us a sense then of your concerns and the current situation in Idlib for civilians.
Sure. I mean, it's obviously very alarming. What we know today after speaking to our team on the ground is the airstrikes have obviously started. 17 people are dead, 7 of those were children and the majority were women. What we also know about Idlib is it's a very small area where 3 million people are currently confined. 1 million of those people are children and another 1.5 million are people that were uprooted from other areas in Syria when the conflict took hold there. That means those people will have to relive the trauma of having to live through another conflict and the fear of potentially losing loved ones. We also know that aid supplies are in short supply at the moment, and our biggest concern obviously is the fact that the international border is closed and then the neighbouring provinces are all government held territory. So if this does escalate in the manner that it's being expected to, then we will expect to see probably the largest humanitarian crisis to hit Syria since the conflict started 7 years ago.
And when an organisation like yours starts to try and plan for that, what are you having to think about and what are your priorities on the ground?
Sure. Obviously, our priority is to help those most that need support, and access is obviously a big key issue for aid agencies, so we would like to have unfettered access. The problem that we have is obviously it's very difficult to deliver aid supplies while the conflict is raging, so we would ask for corridors where we can actually do that. We're already planning our response. We've done our contingency. Our teams are ready. We've got a multi-million-pound programme in the pipeline, and what we are expecting to start delivering is food, water, shelter and healthcare, because obviously people will be injured as a result of the bombs and fire.
And for people who are concerned there and think they want to get out of Idlib, is that possible, or are they now at the point where trying to even leave the city is just not an option?
It's going to be extremely difficult for them because the border with Turkey is closed, and if they do move, then they move into government-held areas. We do expect between 200 to 700,000 people to start moving again, so we're expecting to see mass displacement, and when that happens we're going to have to start moving with these people and helping to support them because they'll have left everything behind. You know, I've been inside Syria. I was there a few years ago and I visited a camp close to the border with Turkey, and it was only set up to accommodate 5,000 people. When I got there, it was 25,000 people strong, which meant that there weren't enough sanitation facilities. I saw people openly defecating. They weren't able to wash their hands afterwards. They didn't have access to water, and probably the most heartbreaking thing was seeing people queuing for food and having to walk away without any food. I mean, that's the gravity of the situation if this conflict escalates as we expect it to. And as you pointed out, we think it's the last battle. I think once this battle is won by the government forces, then potentially the pockets of resistance will die out.
And when we look at the political situation, we've got, obviously your concern is humanitarian, you're not involved in the politics, but clearly you're hearing from the UN that they're calling on the sides to get together to try and resolve this. But this has been running for so long. How optimistic are you that any kind of resolution can be found?
We have to hope for a resolution, because if we don't have it, we will see civilians die. And what we want is to see an end to the fighting. We want all sides to respect international and humanitarian law. We want there to be the non-targeting of civilians and civilian infrastructure, and unfettered access for aid agencies to deliver aid.
Okay, well, that obviously is going to be carefully watched over the next few days. Samina, thank you very much for giving us some insight into that situation. Here, the Governor of the Bank of England, Mark Carney, has confirmed that he